What's up, guys? Today, check this out. If you want something that is incredible, get the goggles too, first of all. Secondly, get yourself TBS Crossfire. And third, get yourself an iFlight Chimera with the O3 on board. This is the O3 version today. We're gonna do a raw flight test for you. I'm not doing any kind of editing on this. I'm just gonna let it flow, and we're gonna fly from the front of the Prius all the way out into these big open fields. And this is really where you really wanna fly something like this, a big open area where you just have tons of room to explore, find new lines. And for a first maiden flight, this is my maiden flight, so this is not going to be something like incredible diving down mountain ranges and things like that, because I really don't know what this quad's going to do on the first flight. So you guys get to ride with me today for the initial flight test of the Chimera7, and I'll just do like a bench review after this flight. You guys can check this thing out on the bench. It's fucking incredible. So yeah, and I don't say that word too often. This thing is balls out freaking badass. And it's already set up with my Crossfire. You can fly this on a 4S 5000 pack, no problem. That's what I'm gonna test today. I have one of the Swell Pro HVs, and this is just from one of my Swell Pro reviews that I had laying around. You can fly these on 4S and 6S, got 1250 kV motors on here. You can also get the Full Sends long range Lion packs, 4000 milliamp. I would suggest getting a little bigger actually for this quad to totally send it and get that 20 to 25, 30 minute flight times that you're looking for. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and let's fly what might be the baddest fucking release of all year. All right, guys, let's send it. Here we go. So guys, before we go on the flight test, you know, this is what I'm dealing with in Oregon at like not even 10 minutes after I got back. It's already raining again. This is what I'm dealing with, you guys. Enjoy the flight. All right, my friends, welcome back from the flight test. That is the legendary Chimera7 Pro V2 6S HD version with the DJI O3 on board, with custom dual antennas in the back, GPS on the very back. This is an M8 GPS, I believe. It has a dead cat style frame. It has multiple receiver options. You can use ELRS. You can get it for PMP with add your own receiver. You can add TBS Crossfire on there and check out, and you can also do a Commando 8 with ELRS as well on 2.4 for your RX. So that's a lot of cool options as far as the receiver options go. You can also get Commando 8 ELRS for 915 megahertz as well. If guys that want to run 915 on ELRS and go super far and not use Crossfire, that's an option for you. You can also get a GoPro Hero 8 mount. You can get the 9 and 10 mount as well. So that's pretty cool. Now, what iFlight is recommending that you guys put on here is the full SIN 6S 4000 milliamp Li-ion battery. That's going to get you a nice long flight time. I'm guessing we'll get 15 minutes out of this battery. We'll do some more testing on the channel. I'll let you know about this coming up. I have 2 of these to test out from iFlight. So these are full SIN LR. These are 22.2 volt 6S1P. So yeah, that's yet to be determined. Now, from an old school perspective, I run lipos sometimes when I'm flying long range, and if I'm doing some mountain surfing, because most of my reviews are out here in Oregon and we do some long range in the mountains. We have tons of mountains around here. I'll go and use a 4S 5000. Even with these 6S rated motors, you can run 4S on there. I do it all the time out at the coast, and I'm able to get over 20 to 25 minutes flight time, even in kind of a windy environment. And again, quads this size don't really care that much about wind. I've tested other smaller ones out on the coast, and they just get eat up by the wind. Something like the Flyroo LR4, for example, that one's not going to handle a whole lot of wind. If you want like a good coastal long range rig, get yourself a 7-inch. So the options are for GoPro available on iFlight's website. That's cool. It has the dead cat. I don't know that they have another version of this available, but I would go for the dead cat version. I love the fact that this has a super long, what I call the truck body. You could get such a giant battery on here, and it comes with these super big beastie ass straps. I mean, look at these things. They're giant. So even with a 5000 pack on here that we flew today for the maiden flight, I was able to have even some extra hanging down off the bottom. We also have side skirts as well, which is super cool. We have built-in LEDs like the Evoke series, and these look pretty neat when it's all lit up. I don't prefer to fly any type of long range with any type of show-off LEDs. I like to be a little more nonchalant than kind of showing how cool I am flying down the beach. I just wanted to see it kind of zip by and not pay attention to it. Now the O3 in the very back here, it has a open port back here for your micro SD card. You have your USB-C slot right there for the firmware updates on that. You're going to have to update this and activate it with DJI, of course. And on the other side, we have kind of a cool detail. It says Chimera Pro right here, and just above that, it has a little arrow that says link button. So you could link this up to your DJI goggles 2 or your DJI FPV V2 goggles. I don't know that there's V1 support yet, but I hope that comes along. There's plenty of venting in here. I wouldn't necessarily say this is a mist or a raining waterproof type rig, but you do have a custom heat sink back here as well. If you look just below this O3 rig right here, you'll see some kind of vertical lines right there. That is a custom heat sink, and they don't have any kind of venting underneath here, but they did make the carbon fiber super thin right here. I'm not sure why they didn't drill all the way through right there and just leave that open, but maybe to keep just gunk and dirt and stuff out of there on takeoff and landings, and just over time might keep a little less dirt out of there. There's plenty of venting on the side there. You're going to get quite a bit of venting once you take off with a 7-inch. You're going to have tons of airflow through this whole thing. Now on the very back here, they have this TPU beastie TPU mount with all of the stuff on the back. We have our M8 GPS, and I was able to get around 12 satellites with this before takeoff today. It's already set up, but you're going to have to make sure that you test out your packets and field test this first. And what I mean by doing that is just doing it where in a big open field where you know you can go and pick this thing up. Just trust me, I've done it before on a long range send down the mountain, and I ended up having to go like hike in for my quad, so that's not fun. The other thing that iFlight has done, if you guys take notice of this is cool because they have long range dual antennas built into this O3 right here. We talked about this before, that you can actually take off the original antenna and replace it with 2 extra antennas, so you can mod it to accept 2 instead of this singular type of antenna. Now this is a singular cap, but there's actually 2 antennas up inside here, and for long range purposes, you know, DJI tested this and they said this was the right setup for this unit. However, manufacturers are steering away from that, and they're doing the dual antenna setup. So in my opinion, I would feel safer with this type of setup on here, and much taller than the aircraft over top of my battery. Of course, you want that sort of line of sight back to your goggles to get the best signal back. So I didn't have any problems today with frame drop going through these big open fields, and I did dip pretty low a couple times, and I was still able to really see where I was going and not have a tremendous amount of lag, even with some of the bit rate that we were running today. I was running 50 megabit. Now, for those of you who may have been wondering, the wheelbase is 327 millimeters from motor to motor, so it has a pretty large wingspan. If you've never flown a 7-inch before, it's pretty impressive when you set it on the ground or just hold it, carrying it around. It is so much bigger than your typical 5-inch, which is usually around 220 millimeter. The thing I do love about this frame is the fact that it is only 8 bolts to release this top plate. They also have extra large bolts covering the TPU GoPro mount in the front. That way that it doesn't rip through. So it's kind of nice they thought about that. A lot of these regular style M3 bolts, they always kind of rip through at times when you have a hard crash. So let's go ahead and take the top off and let me show you what's inside this Chimera7 Pro V2. Now right dead center in the Chimera7 is the heart of it. This is a 2-up stack. This is the Blitz E55 4-in-1 6S version with 55 amp ESCs and built-in BEC. The video transmitter is powered off of this, running to the back here, and it's just underneath this little receiver tray. So it's kind of cool that they have a TPU receiver tray just above where the O3 unit is. And again, we've got that heat sink on the very bottom down here, which is going to help dissipate some of that sort of 4K DVR and VTX heat that's just going to be emanating from the back of this quad. Now that may be an issue in the summer months. We really have to test these in hotter weather to be certain that these aren't going to black out in much hotter weather. But man, there's a lot of tech packed into this quad. If you've seen a lot of interior parts and builds of Binaflies before, I have to give it to iFlight. They've done some extra homework here. They have additional power outputs in this board up here in the front. They have an extra PCB up here, and there was also one back here somewhere on the Evoke series. There was 2 of those. So they've actually done some extra homework in here to make sure that all this stuff is going to run right. Now, if you're someone who's brand new and you crash this, you know, you really want to take a picture of all this before you send it and crash it and tear it apart. Take pictures of all of this stuff in here. We've got LEDs on the side walls here, and I can light this up and show you guys. There we go. So it's all lit up now. You can see that there is wiring for the LEDs all the way front to back here. And again, I'm not a huge fan of LEDs on long range, but this series has these side skirts, and it's nice that iFlight has added them. For me, if I was going to make it a real long range rig, I would probably disconnect all of those because I don't want the extra flash on my long range rigs, to be quite honest. Now we have super thick gauge wire coming through the back here to the XT60 mount. And again, you know, to be honest about this, I wish that this was not angled toward the back, because it makes me have to scooch my battery back toward the back of the quad quite a bit more and offset. Even with the larger 5000 series pack that has the cable closer to the back, it just still, it's a little bit hard to reach. So I wish that was different, but it is the way it is for now, and it's all pretty sturdy. It also has an anti-static type of setup here, so that it reduces the amount of pop when you plug in a 6S battery. It's kind of nice to see that. We've got a built-in capacitor there as well to smooth up some of that noise, and you're probably not going to see any in this O3 transmission. It's quite good. And then also up toward the front here, you can see how this camera is seated. It's a much wider type of stance we have. We don't have any type of extra standoff up here protecting this camera, but the carbon fiber does come right up to about here. So your camera is going to be a little bit exposed right about there. And I kind of wish there was maybe a crossbar right here, but this is all solid metal in here. So this is quite sturdy. You can see this is pretty thick. They made it really thick. So I don't feel like this is probably going to be compromised too much unless you hit concrete. And I know some of you guys hit concrete. So you have access to the F7 flight controller on this side over here. And they give you these nice little sort of rubber plugs that you can plug back into this to keep some of the moisture and dust and stuff out. So you get two of those. You get one on the O3 unit, and you get one crammed into the F7 port right here. And some other nice details are the tape around the wires here on both sides of each arm close to the body, so that none of these wires kind of pop up or come up during flight. You also have wire covers here on each arm. Those are kind of traditional for the Evoke series and for the Chimera series. We've got some TPU bumpers underneath the motors, and we also have that light up LED on the bottom here where the iFlight logo is, and some two-stage separation here in the front of the camera. So it looks like this is going to be an extra piece here that comes out from the camera. And I like the fact that it's only 8 bolts to release the top plate. So that makes getting into the interior of this quad a lot easier. But again, this is only my opinion, and I feel like for where we're at right now in the year, that this is definitely my pick for quad of the year in the 7-inch category. We don't have another one that can even stand close to this. As far as 7-inch releases, the Geprc Crocodile O3 is not out yet. I'm sure that one's going to be coming down the pipe for a review coming up soon on the Drone Camps channel. So stay tuned for that one, guys that are Crocodile fans. I'm sure that one's coming. But for now, dudes, the Chimera 07 O3 is ruling the pool. This thing is a freaking beast, and it's goddamn beautiful. Just look at this thing. It's just freaking gorgeous. And the tune on here is great. The flight time's good. The O3 kicks ass. With the goggles too. I don't know how much better it can get. And again, let's be a little bit cynical about all electronics and say that the O3s have to be tested in hotter weather to really prove that these are going to hold up for hotter weather flying. They're not going to black out on us. So that is yet to be determined. I always have to be skeptical on my channel. And if you don't like my skepticism, go somewhere else where you're going to hear all the fluff and the stuff you want to hear. But here we're going to keep testing and giving you more drone truths and real flight tests. But guys, you can check out the link down below to the iFlight website store. I am an affiliate there. That will benefit me, and I'll appreciate it if you grab one from my link as well for the Banggood link as well. I'll put both of them there. If you're international, go for the Banggood. US, you can do the US store as well. So iFlight or Banggood, either way, guys, I appreciate you, and please do subscribe on the channel. Guys, at Mr. Camps, another flight test in the books. I appreciate you, and happy holidays, by the way. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.